This is Les McCurdy, McCurdy's Comedy Theater, Sarasota, Florida. We're sitting in the green room behind the stage where the comics hang out before they go up on stage. As a matter of fact, you can walk from the green room just right onto the stage. It sits in the middle of the stage, and on the other side is the box office. And what you're going to hear is the conversation that the comics naturally have during the performance. That's what this is all about. It's not an interview. It's not a performance. It's just our conversation. Same as you sitting around with your friends, and it could go anywhere. It could be chaotic, it could go all over the place, it could be very specific. And remember, we're not experts on anything either. We're just having a nice conversation. That's what we do in the green room. That's what you want to be a part of, and we hope you enjoy the conversation. Welcome to the conversation. So we're just sitting here with our first podcast. We're getting started a little bit early. Actually, we weren't supposed to start for 5 minutes, but we know what the shit. We're here. We're here. Well, at least three of us are here. The headliners aren't here. That's the way it always works.
That's the way it works.
Headliners always fashionable.
But Mike Stevens he's our producer. He's here and a comedian.
What's up?
And then Bill Ohse.
Ohse.
Okay. Ohse. I don't think I've ever said your last name till right now.
Most people don't.
You know, because he just goes by Bull. And I'm Les McCurdy, McCurdy's Comedy Theater. And this podcast is not an interview. It's just a conversation. We're sitting in the green room. But the green room in McCurdy's is right behind the stage. We can actually walk onto the stage from the green room. And so you might hear a little bit ambient sound of the show going on. And it'll just be our conversation. As a matter of fact, the only other green room I ever played, which was like situated like this, was there used to be the Comedy Corner in West Palm Beach. Andrew Dorfman owned it. And and before that, I forget the guy's name. It was Phantasma Productions, which does all the big concerts. They actually had that club. And Renee Hart, who's big with the improvs over in Palm Beach now, and a lot of the improvs, she was a waitress there. And they had a little room with a regular door, just a regular door.
Right.
And the door opened to the stage. So you walked out a door onto the stage from there. And but it was like a box. It didn't have much.
The hot in there.
Yeah, it felt a little. But anyway, we were just talking to Bill, which goes by Bull, and the fact that Mike, you said today you couldn't find anything on it.
Well, I probably shouldn't have Google searched Bull.
That'll pop up as only half a word.
It wasn't. Yeah, I didn't get very far on it. But,
right, but you were just saying you don't have much out there because you work a lot of church shows.
Yeah, I do a lot of the church shows with the H2O comedy troupe with Juanita, Lolita, and Ron Hortman. So I do a lot with them. Church shows have kind of slowed down a little bit as of late, but you know they're fun. They're fun shows to do. I mean, we've performed for well over 1,000 people at some of these churches.
Oh yeah. Well, you were just saying you couldn't put your club stuff up on YouTube because if churches see that, they go, we can't have you at the church, and vice versa.
Yeah.
You go to audition for somebody that's just regular, like even Carnival Cruise Lines, and then the church stuff doesn't play.
Well, the thing is, I mean, I have a reputation of being a fairly clean comic at the clubs, but there's a big difference between club clean and church clean.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I'm sure.
It's a really big difference.
Yeah.
There's some churches you can't even mention cigarettes or alcohol or something, like you can't even mention anything like that on the stage.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, my act, it's not completely different, but it's really squeaky clean. I have material that I don't use on the regular stage here, and I tried too. After I left my first church show with all the super clean material. I walked off. I felt amazing, and I'm like, I am going to do this from now on. And I went to the club that night. After I got off a church stage, I went to a club that night and performed the exact same set. Nothing.
Isn't it crazy?
No.
And the goof is, those are people, and I always say a lot of it's environment, because that same group of people could have seen you in a church and reacted totally differently.
Exactly.
You know, I mean, we used to We used to, and the same thing in that, I have people that come up. I go to a Presbyterian church here, and I have customers come up all the time. It's a huge congregation.
Yeah.
And hey, yeah, we saw you in church, or we go to that church on a Saturday night. And you got a comic who's motherfuckering and just everything, and I'm gonna see you in church tomorrow,
Oh, yeah.
And it's cool how our society now has gotten to the point where people are sophisticated enough.
It's different now.
That language, they're past. They understand that it's not. The sin is not in the word. The sin is in the intent. It's in the the intent is the intent just to make you laugh and have some fun. Is the intent to be malicious and hurtful, and you know what I mean?
Well, the Christians that are hated so much today are our folks. That people are still remembering the way that our folks worshipped, and it's different now because a lot of Christians today, they don't have a problem with gay people. They don't have a problem with it. Whatever you do behind your door, that's you. That's got nothing to do. That's got nothing to do with me and the way that I worship. And I think too many Christians are getting a really bad rap. As far as the environment, you're right. I had to do a show with who was it? It was me, Pete DeRusha, and Ken Reed years ago.
Ken Reed.
Yeah, Ken Reed was the very first MC to bring me up on stage.
And he's a club owner now too.
Yeah, in Texas now, right?
Texas now, in Houston. He started in Minneapolis and then now he's down to Houston. I mean, when Ken makes a change, he makes a change.
Yeah,
he went from Florida to Minneapolis to Houston. When he runs, he has to go several states. I don't know what the fuck he does, but he has to go states away.
He's in the witness protection program. But I had to do a show.
Eric Myer has arrived, our headliner.
What's up?
And you did the same thing. We're all talking to the top of this bastard, and it's and the things in the front.
I'm an idiot.
We are.
Oh, you put it. I'm sorry. I actually got lost walking here.
No, we don't care. We're just talking about. Bull was just saying. We're talking about reiterating. We're talking about that. Mike couldn't find anything on Bull on the internet, and he's not on there because he does church shows, and he can't put shit up there in clubs for the churches won't use him, and vice versa. But he was talking about doing a show at a church and killing and going, I'm going to do that same show tonight at the club, and he did, and nothing. And we were talking about how the environment was the fact that you probably could have had many of those same people in the church and they would have enjoyed it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Sometimes environment's the whole damn thing.
Oh, sure. Oh, sure. I was doing that show with Ken Reed and Pete DeRusha. It was a really small little room, and there was probably 13, 14 people in the room. I went up as the MC, no attention whatsoever. They hated me. Ken Reed went up, nobody wanted Ken Reed. I went back up in between, nobody wanted Ken Reed. Pete DeRusha gets up there. And he goes, after we finish this show, we're all driving to Clearwater because we have a second show over there. If you guys want to see me, I suggest you follow me to that club because I'm not performing here. And he walked off the stage.
At the church?
No, this was
at the club.
At a club. Yeah, we had to do 2 clubs that night.
What?
The audience, they were pissed off, but the majority audience followed us back to Clearwater. Every one of them had a great time. We did the exact same material. Nothing changed. It was just a different environment, and they loved it. They came up and they said, "Oh, it was so much better with the crowd."
Human beings are very overrated.
This is true.
You went to Clearwater too. That would be funny if you were like, "I want to try my stuff with a Scientologist instead."
Yeah.
See how this goes.
Scientologists, you can't mess with them. You can feed them, but don't try to pet them because they will bite you.
No.
Comedy's one of those things. I remember telling my dad, I was like, man, I just bombed last night, but it was like a bar show in Daytona. My dad's like, but what does it matter if you're funny? And I'm like, I don't know how to put it into words. If you're not a comedian and haven't lived it, it's like, I remember being at a club one time, the Comedy Store in LA, they have 3 rooms. I went up in the big room, greatest show of my life. I was a god among men. My ego's through the roof. And I walked down the hall.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, blah, 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 didn't show up. Go on. Same venue. Same night, same jokes. 10 feet down the... I went up and these people looked at me like I just crapped on their dream. Like, it was... And I was like, how... But it's also like, if you're in your head... or you say something and it doesn't get a laugh, and you're like, oh, they don't like me, or they're this or they're that. Your energy's not the same.
Right.
So you think you're saying it the same, but you ain't, because they can feel that you're not confident.
Right. Well, and when you say that, when you're in the Comedy Store and you're in the main room, and then you talked about going down the hallway to the smaller room, and that smaller room is generally where you have to get started.
Yes.
You have to work the little room
Yes.
to try to get to the big room. So there's kind of a concept in there to people that go in that know that these are the startup guys. You know what I mean? And maybe
True.
they don't even know that you just killed it in the main room, and
No.
they just look at you. Their expectations are lower, and they're like, whatever.
Yeah.
And so, like I say, you just give some little inkling right off the top that they go, fuck, nah, I don't like this guy.
You can feel it, and it's like, that venue especially, you'll have huge celebrities walk in, and the electricity, and then when you follow them, you just feel like the biggest piece of shit. But even if I went up tonight and hosted, I would do 90% less laughs than if I go up and you say I'm the headliner and you give whatever credit, because in their minds, they're supposed to laugh.
It's like
Yeah.
expectations or something.
Oh, absolutely.
I swear to God, if I went up first and did my set, it would be mediocre at best.
Right.
But if I go up later in the show and you're like, oh, this guy has a poster outside or whatever, we put his name on the napkins, they're like, oh my God, we're supposed to laugh now.
Yeah,
So
the program for that. Yeah.
it's like,
Sometimes, although, like...
I might be exaggerating, but
a
I
little
kind
bit.
of feel like I'm not.
a little bit. But like last night we had a guest set. Derek Richards came in, and
Destroyed.
Derek's been trying to get in as a headliner for me for freaking 20 years, or however long he's been headlining, 10 or 12 or what, a while. And I just always with Derek, good comic, but some headliners especially, comparatively, just aren't quite at that place where I'm just ready to close them here. And you know, when it comes down to it, I go, this is the hardest thing in the world for me because I'm a comic. And I go, it's not that I don't like you and I don't like your set, but when it comes down to it, I got 52 weeks. 20 of those are celebrities. Minimum 20 of those are celebrities, sometimes more. Another 8 or 10 are regular acts that have worked here for years and they destroy this room. So all of a sudden, you're down to 15, maybe 20 slots max left in the year for regular road headliners. And out of that, you know, I've already got a bevy that I like, that I know will do well in here. Then you try to work in new ones every once in a while. It's just, you know, it's a numbers game. And sometimes, you know, you just, but Derek came in last night, and he got like 4 applause breaks. And Eric
got more
comes
than
up to me,
that.
I see Eric come out of the green room with this look at he's wandering up to me, he's like, this motherfucker is killing. He is killing. He's getting applause breaks. I'm gonna so suck. I just want to let you know before I get started, this is not gonna go well.
Yeah.
Then just walked off. I said, I think it's gonna be all right, Eric.
Yeah, the guy that was
I was
worrying about
freaking.
sucking ended up getting standing O. You saw the people standing up for you.
Oh, you did well from the get-go. You know, that energy.
You never know, though.
But you can be.
And you're here, so it's like as an actor, you're only as good as your last movie. You're only as good as your last set.
Right.
Because if I went up there and tanked, because you booked me, people paid to see me, I have a responsibility to deliver.
Sure. Well, there's no
And I
doubt.
want to deliver.
You know, there's no doubt, and I've talked about this many times. For me, you know, and see if y'all going from the opening act, the host, to middle was an easy transition. It was like I just do more time. I didn't feel pressure. I looked forward to it. But going from head there to headliner, especially when you walked into an A room, big crowd with 2, and you knew those 2 comics in front of you were pros.
Yeah.
You know, they're going to do well. You go, all of a sudden you realize if everything in front of me kills, I have to take it up a notch.
Yes.
If everything in front of me dies, I have to save the show. I am the show. And all of a sudden you realize the evening depends on me. And I remember that first year, that was stressful, till you kind of got some confidence. But I think when you follow, I usually see good energy, good in front. The headliner generally can just take that energy and just build right on top of it because they're so ready. When you walked out last night, they started laughing before you opened your mouth. Right. They started giggling, and then I don't know, the first 2 minutes you were up there, you got, oh God, probably 7 or 8 strong laughs.
Thank God. Well, this club, and I'm not just kissing your butt, this club is awesome. These crowds are great. I mean, even the little things that I kind of do just because I think they're funny that 90% of the time never get a laugh, they got laughs. Right. And I was like, God bless this crowd.
Hey, there's Marcella,
Hi,
our showroom manager. She'll come in from time to time.
How are you?
I'm good. I need to help Kimber in the office.
Okay, help Kimber in the office.
So would you rather follow somebody who totally eats it, or would you rather follow somebody who just destroys?
I'd rather follow somebody who destroys.
Yeah.
I'd rather know the room is ready. I tell you what I used to have to do. Back when I was touring, I'd go to New York, to Manhattan.
Yeah.
And you make no money in the Manhattan clubs.
Really?
Yeah, you make $15, $25, $50. It's renowned for that. You make small money. So they bounce around, in Manhattan, comics bounce around and they'll do 3 clubs in a night. So they make $200 or $300 or $150 or whatever, and you'll do an early show and then a late show. But if you're willing to go outside of the city an hour, you can go make regular, like what they pay regular club money or tour, So your opening act was always the person who drove you. So I figured out very quickly, I told guys this, I go, you want to be a comic in New York? Buy a car. Have a car. Because if you get with the booker and go, I have a car, I can do 15 minutes,
right.
You're hired. They will hire you. You can be god-awful, they'll hire you to take the comics. And so your opening act generally was awful. And your middle act, 9 times out of so you had an opening act that walked on stage and did 15 minutes of just nothing, and because they're New York and New York attitude sometimes, then they get angry at the audience.
Yes.
And they jump on the audience.
Yeah.
Now the middle act walks up, and that's what the audience is prepared for.
Oh.
Yeah.
And the middle act, unless the middle act's really good and knows how to handle that, he or she walks up there, it don't go so well. And they start getting pissed off at the audience, and they start taking an I don't give a fuck attitude. I'm making my $50, $75, I don't give a shit, and da-da-da. So by the time I walk on stage, I've literally done this many times, y'all. I walk on stage and go, okay, before we get started, I have a disclaimer. Everything you've seen before me was not stand-up comedy. It wasn't even close. Okay? That was upset human beings being upset and dissatisfied with their life in front of you. Now, from here on out, we're gonna have fun. We're gonna really have fun. We're gonna laugh and just be light and da-da-da. And
did that switch them up?
Absolutely,
100%.
It almost always got an applause.
Yeah.
And then I just knew. I just know. Go to something easy, stock for 5 minutes. Just go to some quick, easy, bang, bang, bang stuff that's silly as shit.
Yeah.
And then they go, oh, it's like a breath of fresh air. They're like, oh, thank God. And that's even the most jaded. I don't care. You can be in Jersey, in a fucking bar in Jersey outside of Newark somewhere, and still, people are people,
Yeah.
I think when you call attention to the elephant in the room, if everybody before you has been so epically bad,
yes,
and then you go up and you call attention to it, or if you're performing in a room where the room holds 300 people, but you're performing for 30 people and they're spread out, if you call attention to the discomfort in there, then they know that you're comfortable with doing so, and then it puts them at ease too.
Yeah.
I got no problem with calling attention to the discomfort.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Well, of course, look at you.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of comics
We're both from Tennessee. We can do that.
I just lost the draw a long time ago.
But you've probably seen this too, but I've seen a lot of comics, not here, but at a place, and they, a lot of celebrities, and it's a notoriously rough crowd, and they will go up and just within 10 seconds, shit on the town, shit on the people, shit on the... And these are people that are making 10, 20, 30 grand. And I'm like, you should be kissing these people's ass.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's you can't go up there with it's me versus you mentality and you people hate me.
No.
Because you're entertaining them.
No.
They're not there for you.
Marcella's trying to sneak out.
We see you.
Go to work for
Here I am.
God's sake.
I
We
got
see
ya.
ya. But it's like I never go up, and if I think they're not gonna like me, or if I start being like, oh, this crowd's whatever, then you're done.
You know, we had I've over the years, and of course, here I've been in comedy since 1980, and been booking clubs and producing shows since '86, and every now and then, it doesn't happen much, but every now and then over the years, we would get a headliner in that just came in with a sour attitude.
Oh yeah.
You know, just
There's a lot of them.
you know, just came in, and they weren't being really a total asshole or anything, but they just came in just glum and just complaining about every little thing. And I remember one of the
name
first.
them?
What?
Yeah.
No, we could. But
Give us a hint.
but I remember the first time it happened, and the comic came in. Oh, we're getting started. Well, not yet. But the comic came in, and his name was Dennis. I'll just say his name was Dennis. But a great guy and a good comic.
80s guy?
Huh?
80s comic?
guy. Yeah. And so
I know you're talking
his
about.
brother's a comic too.
One of my no, different guy. Never mind.
And who are you guessing?
The guy that's right. I thought you meant Dennis Wolfberg.
No, not
Rest
Dennis
in peace.
Wolfberg.
Yeah,
No,
okay.
he was- What?
Regan.
No, not Dennis Regan.
Really?
It wasn't Dennis Regan.
There's another
Nah.
Dennis's brothers performing?
Yes,
Wow.
yes. There's
Miller?
another Dennis. There's another Dennis. But anyway, so now anybody's listening will have to figure it out. And
Can we
but anyway,
have-
that he was just complaining. And Pam, my wife, who has always run the club with me, and you know, Pam has a master's degree in theater. She's sharp, and she pulled him aside the first night, and I was standing there, and she goes, "Dennis, this is a comedy club. Listen to me, comedy guy, smiles, laughter. That's everybody that's coming into this room is coming in here to get away from the shit that you're bringing in here right now. Take your fucking black cloud out fucking side and get rid of it, or
Yeah.
go home.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a comedy club." And I've had that with staff members sometimes, even. And you go, "Hey man, I don't give a shit what your life was before you walked in that door. And if you want to sit over and talk about it to me later or whatever, I'm happy to do that. We can sit here and cry on each other's shoulder or whatever, I'm fine. But as far as that audience is concerned,
Yeah.
whoa, this is Wonderland.
It's
This
kind-
is happy time,
It's
They're-
kind of
they're-
a fantasy.
They're coming here. Yes,
Yeah.
it is a fantasy.
Yeah, because
You know?
I've how many comics that I've told now. I understand what certain political beliefs are around me, but I always say it doesn't matter what your political beliefs are. You're going to divide that audience. You're going to have half of that audience. Why do you want half that audience to just shut you out? Why can't you just stay right down the middle of the road with them? That way you can keep both of them.
Well, and I do understand that in comedy there's comics that are people pleasers, crowd pleasers. I'm that way. And
Yeah.
then now there are comics that are well-defined characters. And if you've decided to be a well-defined character, which is the way you get branded and the best way to become a celebrity, you do have to kind of stick to your guns.
Yeah.
But you can let the audience know that that's what you're doing.
But you have to establish that for years.
You do have to
first, though. You gotta
establish
build
it.
that.
You do have to establish it.
Yeah, 'cause
but yeah.
in the beginning, they're not or if you're not famous, they're not coming to see you.
No.
They're coming to see a show.
That's right.
But if you're Daniel Tosh, people know you're going to be sarcastic,
That's right.
edgy, snarky.
That's right.
If you're Bozo the Clown, then you're going to make balloon animals. I mean, they're coming to see you, but when like me, they just came.
Yes.
Maybe they Googled me, maybe they didn't.
All of us.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go up and start saying, not that my opinions are super well researched anyway, so I don't really know what I'm talking about, but I'm not going to go up there and do that. I don't think it's fun.
Right.
But recently, I saw this comic go up, extremely famous, and he, very political, and this crowd already paid $100. The show was an hour late. Servers are food's late, drinks are late. They're already pissed off, and half the crowd walked.
Yeah.
And after the show, he's like, "What happened?" And I'm like, "Bro, it's just not fun. This is supposed to be fun."
That's right. That's right. You know what? I tell when I teach comedy, I go, look. No one comes into a comedy club to be educated or enlightened.
Yeah.
They really don't. They come here for one reason only, and that is to laugh and escape a little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit of mindless laughter.
That's right. That's right. They come in here, and we talk about this. They come in here to eat shit they shouldn't eat, drink shit they shouldn't drink, hear shit they shouldn't hear, laugh at shit they shouldn't laugh at. That's exactly what they come in here for. And
It's an escape.
It's an escape.
It's entertainment. It's
And
fun.
the thing is, I love when a comic will get up and get on this point of view. And afterwards I go, you know what, man? Did you get a degree in that?
Yeah.
I mean, do you have a master's degree in that? Have you written a book about that? How much have you researched? What, you read 2 books in the newspaper and you're the fucking expert? You have an opinion, man. That's it.
Right.
Don't act like your opinion is the fucking shit.
But have opinion. Have opinion. I don't want you coming to me spouting off what you heard on Rush Limbaugh and passing it off as yours.
Okay.
I can't stand
Unless
that.
it's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't like the comics and/or people that act like if you don't agree with them, then you're a complete idiot.
Oh yeah.
And that's not a good attitude.
I like that.
Are we gonna pause while you're on stage?
No, y'all you can do whatever you want. I mean, in other words, we're just hanging out. This is a conversation. If you feel like you need to get ready because you're getting ready to go on in 10 minutes or whatever you want to do, and Mike can take breaks. We're editing this shit anyway.
I got it.
So wherever there's a pause or a break or whatever, but it might be that it might be a point where it's just you and Mike sitting here bullshitting about whatever. It doesn't matter.
Oh, I can talk about comedy.
A lot of dead air. We'll just be staring at each other.
Talk about comedy.
Oh no, if you want to talk about comedy, I
We want to
won't
hear
shut
about
up
your new
for 6
girlfriend. Is
hours.
what we want to hear about.
Can I?
So you're going to do 25? Yeah. Okay, great.
Can I run to the restroom real fast and then get a little Red Bulls? My man. I'll be back, but
some fun.
I'd love to. I'm sorry I was late.
You weren't too late. You're all right. You're good.
Do like 20 extra minutes, and then they think they should be headlining.
Oh, I
And
know
I'm
it.
like, why would you want to do more time?
Like the hero of the open mic, they think that they're.
But it's like they're bombing, but they keep. I guess you keep going to try to win the crowd over.
Yeah.
But then it's like digging deeper and deeper. Then you have the one super offensive comment.
Yeah.
That just, they're just like, it's every joke's like the worst thing ever.
I've seen that
It used to be
before.
me back in the day.
Where people like go over their time because they're searching for a closer. Like they just keep trying to get like a strong punch at the end.
Yeah, they want to go off on a laugh.
Yeah.
And sometimes if the crowd hates you that much, you're
Yeah.
pretty much fucked.
I remember last night I was telling you I had to do a show. It was over an hour. I had to do like an hour 15, hour and 20 minutes or something like that. Well, the feature was the MC.
Damn, that's a long time.
Yeah, the feature was the MC, and they told me that he didn't have but 10 minutes. I'm like, so he's doing a feature and an MC, and he's got 10 minutes of time? And he goes, yeah, I need you to stretch.
Why would they hire them?
I don't know. But
Wow.
so I'm up on stage, and if I'm headlining, I play with the audience. I talk to the audience. I'm not scared to talk to the audience. I don't mind hecklers. I love every bit of it. Well, there was this one little old lady that kept going back and forth with me, and her table was just screaming with laughter. And I heard one woman say, he obviously doesn't know who he's talking to. And I'm like, all right, enlighten me. Who am I talking to? Whitey Bulger's ex-wife.
Oh shit.
Seriously?
Yeah, she had pictures of the wedding, everything she carried away. And I said, here's the part of the show where I back down a little bit. And she goes, no, keep it up, big boy. Your mouth's gonna sound really good at the bottom of the oceans in them concrete shoes.
Holy shit. scariest heckle ever. God damn.
And you're like, oh, that is she serious? Was she the girl that was with him when he got busted, or was she like?
I don't know. She hated the movie though. She said the movie was not accurate at all. They hated Johnny Depp, the Johnny Depp one.
She's like, it was much darker, much more brutal than that movie.
Yeah.
The Johnny Depp one?
Yeah, I guess so.
Wait, was The Departed that Whitey Bulger? Am I confused?
Yeah,
What's
it was Black Mass, I think. Right?
Black Mass, yeah.
Black Mass. Yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently, he played a
Well,
great
bro,
part.
Johnny Depp strangled that girl to death with his bare hand.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
The one snitch girl in the. Did you see it?
No, I never saw it. No.
There's one like young, like 16-year-old blonde hair girl, and she gets busted by the cops for like being a hooker or doing drugs. And they're like, you didn't tell them anything, did you? And she's like, no, I swear. And he gives her a look, and then he takes her in a room and just like beats her to death.
Oh.
It's brutal, man.
Really?
Yeah.
It's uncomfortable.
I was watching it with my parents. I was like, but you, what's your thing? So you started here?
Yeah, this was weird. I actually helped a dude move a couch, and he was like, "Oh, I work at McCurdy's," and I was like, "Really?" And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "We're actually looking to hire people if you're looking to get in there." And I just said, "Oh, I've always wanted to do comedy, but I never knew how to do it." I remember I sent like emails here. I was like, "Hey, I'll like clean the toilets if you just show me what to do." You know what I mean? And I got here, and they basically like you're kind of useless. Like, we don't trust you in the kitchen. You're too fat for that. Like, you can't serve. They're like, you're big enough, so let's just see if you can do security. And I just ended up working the door, and then I took the class like 3 months later, and I had like a pretty good set, like my first time ever. Which I don't even know how I did that, because I wrote my set like the night before, like an asshole, like like jamming for the test. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Sometimes that's better than thinking about it for 6 or 8 weeks.
And I didn't want to torture myself by like, you know what I mean, by constantly thinking about it. So I wrote it the day before, and luckily it worked out. But and I just stayed at it basically. I just fell in love with it like immediately.
Is it something you always wanted to do?
Yeah, because I was always like, wow, I suck at every job. I cannot keep, like, my interest was just never there.
Yeah.
No matter what it was. Like, it could have been a cool job, and it's still, like, I just had no interest in it.
Yeah.
I couldn't focus. And then, like, I started, they let me start to serve here, which I thought, like, oh, shit, here we go again. Like, another job that I'm not going to have any interest in. And, like, I stayed interested in it. I mean, obviously, you make good money, but, like, that's just because comedy revolves around it, I guess. You know?
Yeah. Comedy was my earliest memory. I just remember watching my dad laugh while we were watching Red Skelton, and I just like, I want to do that to people, you know. I want to do that, you know, because my dad, he looked like he felt good when that was happening, and and that's literally my earliest memory. I mean,
that's amazing.
How long have you wanted to do it?
My whole life.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember that. In 2nd grade, we had like show and tell. Do you remember they were called Pound Puppies? It was like a cartoon. They had a stuffed animal, and I went up. And I did some shit with the like stuffed animal, and the kids were laughing. Then afterwards, this girl Jessica Ennis went up and tried to be funny, and someone was like, "Bring Eric back up."
Oh.
And I was like, "Fuck you, Ennis! You can't follow me, motherfucker." But I remember seeing my dad the same thing, Caddyshack and Innocent and Dangerfield, and I was like, you know, that's so cool.
You perform like you've wanted to do this your whole life. You perform like that. I see a lot of people.
I love comedy.
I've seen a lot of comics. You ask them why they started doing comedy. It's just because they don't want to work a day job anymore. I'm like, well, you got a long ways to go.
Yeah.
It's so much harder to make money with comedy.
That's a terrible reason, I feel like.
People are like, I want to quit my job and go on the road. And I'm like, that takes... Well, you know what? I don't know, man. Maybe you can. I mean, you gotta go after your dream.
It's still work, though. You still gotta work at it. You still gotta, you know what I mean? You still gotta do your thing.
Well, that's why a lot of comics.
A lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
You gotta write every day. You gotta do social media. You gotta fucking, you know what I mean? It's like
You gotta be 100% in all the time.
You really. I'm talking to myself too, but it's like at least write every day.
Yeah.
I don't have a wife or kids or a day job, so it's easy for me to say that. If you're working full time, then it's probably really hard to do that.
You know what I found is a really good. Motivator for writing is go to places that you don't like. Like Chris Gorgeous, my buddy Chris Gorgeous,
Oh, I know Chris. I like Chris.
You know Chris?
I like Chris.
Yeah, he was talking about, doing some writing, and he was talking about, he was making fun of country bars. I said, that's where you go then. You go to the country bars, because the country bars is where you're uncomfortable. You're going to find all the funny. I'm not going to find it because that's my environment.
Right.
You know, I ended up with material because I ended up in a gay bar. You know, that's not my environment. But
Right.
I'll find the funny as where the gay comic isn't going to find the funny because it's just his environment.
Is it because it's like uncomfortable?
I did my belt.
Just step out of your
gay
box.
bar, so that was kind of.
I
went to a gay bar. And
I
was
noticed
like,
it.
That's
and
fine.
I noticed it. Turned me on a little.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I wanted that. I heard like like menial tasks too, like walking or like taking a shower can help provoke thought because it's so simple.
Everything can provoke a thought. But
Right.
I usually say step outside of your comfort zone, and that's where you're going to find the funny.
Right.
So, like I said, if you're not a country bar kind of guy, you know, you're into pop music or something like that, you go to the country bar
Yeah.
because now you're going to be making fun of the guy wearing the cowboy
Right.
hat. You're going to be thinking.
Right, it's
You're
not your
guys-
crowd, so it's like you're
Yeah.
more likely to find some
Yeah.
irony in it. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do people do at church? Is it? What should I do them in the bar tonight?
Yeah. Do that in the bar. They're
Should I
right.
do Dan Dakota?
Who?
UTC's right there. You go shop, go to arcade, you can have.
He was my roommate. He lived in Delray.
Also hails from my home state of Tennessee. Although he got rid of that accent a bit, he's toured all over the world. Welcome a guy who goes by just one name, Bull, ladies and gentlemen. Let him hear it. Bull! That's McCurdy. Let him know, guys.
Are those chips?
Oh yeah. We got all
Are those
the
yours?
hors
Can I have
d'oeuvres. Oh, you go for it.
That didn't suck. Yeah, grab them chips and put them over there by you.
You killed.
It went well. It went well.
Les
They're-
just got
they're
back
a good
in the-
crowd. They're not quite as they weren't quite as effervescent as last night's crowd was. But
Last
they're-
night was like.
they were like
I wish I would have taped that.
they were an explosion last night. But well, they did tape it. We leave the camera running. I think
Oh.
we leave the camera running on every show because, and the celebrities let's do it too. But at the end of the week, we just burn it. Unless if you want it, the reason we do it is if something happened that was one of those that was just that amazing, can't repeat it moment,
Yeah.
a viral moment. You know what I mean? And where you're sitting there going, oh shit, nobody, we didn't have a camera on, you know, just in case. So I think they had it. I think they had it. If you want it.
Mike, to your face.
Yeah. I love the. Oh, I'm sorry. I love the viral one. I don't know. Wait.
No, we'll get it for you.
I need my
Your energy.
my magic juice.
Those Red Bulls don't fuck
We're eating
around.
chips.
Yeah, in case you couldn't tell.
I'm really
never
sorry I was
got-
late, man. I know you told me 6:30. I lost track of time.
I just can't get in. I just can't. I've never gotten into the energy drinks.
No?
Good for you. They're horrible for
They're
you.
really bad
Oh,
for
I know
you.
they are.
I drink half and have a panic attack, and as soon as it stops, I drink more. It's like brain freeze. You drink it, and then you're like, ah! Then as soon as it's gone, you're like,
I mean,
it's like I don't know why.
well, I mean, it's it's everything. I mean, it's just a ton of caffeine and a ton of sugar, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I mean,
It's
it'd
literally
be
just-
like chugging 3 cups of espresso and eating just sugar by
It's a
the
lot.
spoonful, right? Same
It's-
thing.
It's so
It's a
bad
lot.
for you,
So bad for you.
and it's like a drug now because I'll drink one, and then like 20 minutes, I'll be like that, and then 20 minutes later, it'll wear off. It's like crack. No, I need more
Now-
to get
Yeah.
to get
You
a
crash
You're-
worse than coffee. Yeah.
You're clean and sober right now, right?
I am.
Okay, because I know that's something that you have to be attentive to that. But just here's what the point is: just about everybody I know, when they stop drinking and doing anything, they go right to the energy drinks.
Yeah, there's
it's like
something about
that's
that.
the go-to, right?
If you go to a 12-step group, if you want to know where a meeting is, look for a church with people guzzling coffee and smoking cigarettes outside, and
Right,
that's the
right,
meeting.
right.
But
That's a meeting.
those meetings, I mean, if they run out of coffee, you have never seen people so pissed off. There are people that have their flights canceled that aren't this pissed off. Like they are like, who was supposed to make the coffee? Like these people are not messing around, and they smoke cigarettes, but it's like. It's just addictive behavior. You just
Yeah.
switch it to something else.
Right.
But people tell me, they're like, don't drink Red Bull. That's just as bad. And I'm like, well, I don't wake up in the bushes from drinking Red Bull naked with like a stick up my ass. I mean, one time, but it was Halloween.
So far.
Knock on wood. Anything, the night is young. And I smoke an e-cigarette. I smoked Marlboro Lights for like 18 years, and then I switched to this blue e-cigarette because I'm an idiot. And
Well, I mean,
it's so horrible for you. There's no good
well,
reason.
I mean, yeah, I mean, you're just switching.
Safer
But like you just said it, you got to find something to do with that energy, right? I mean, that energy's there. It's just part of your being.
Video games.
Quitting drinking quitting smoking cigarettes was the hardest thing ever. Quitting drinking was 20 times easier because I would be so irritable all day long, and then you're so used to having that cigarette in the car.
Yeah.
Right after you eat, before bed, first thing in the morning. It's like that first couple months, you feel like you're grieving it. It's like so horrible.
I smoked for.
Oh, you did?
But I did. The goof is, I did not start smoking until I went to college. I never smoked in junior high and high school because I was an athlete, and the goof was I wasn't good. I wasn't a good athlete. I was like a half-assed athlete. I was good enough to make the team. So I was. If any athlete should have been smoking, it should have been. I played football at 135 pounds. That's how ridiculous it was.
Right.
You know, I was just fast enough not to get killed.
Right.
And I wrestled, which I enjoyed. I really enjoyed it. I ran track a little bit. But once again, I was never quite good enough. You know what I mean? But I enjoyed it. And I remember, and so I never smoked. Although I should have, because I remember when I was about 12 years old, my grandmother and grandfather took me and my cousin from Chattanooga down to Atlanta to see a Braves game.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And we stayed in the Marriott downtown, and this is in the 60s, you know. And so we're staying there, and the Dodgers, who they were playing, were staying there. So we were all jacked up that they were there. So we go to have lunch before the game, and there is two of the greatest pitchers in the history of baseball, Don Drysdale and Sandy Koufax, sitting there.
Holy shit.
About two tables away from us, and they were, you know, they're legends, and with a couple other guys, and they all had suits on and everything, and both Drysdale and Koufax were smoking cigarettes. That's back when you smoked inside. They're both every guy at the table was smoking a cigarette.
Of course.
And Drysdale and Koufax had a little martini or scotch or something in front of them, and Drysdale pitched that day.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Holy
and I was
shit.
sitting there going, well, that blows that shit out of the water. I was like, Drysdale and Koufax are smoking and drinking? Maybe I need to fucking start smoking and drinking so I can make it to the pros, you know.
That's hysterical. How do you do that and smoke? But my dad said when he started smoking back in the day, people were like, oh, it's fine.
Everybody's, back then.
It was just a thing.
Everybody smoked. But I didn't start till college. I was 18. And, you know, went away to college, and that's when I picked up, and I smoked for 10 years, solid.
What'd you smoke?
Marlboros,
Reds?
Anything,
Yeah.
anything. But mainly I smoked Marlboro Reds,
Cool.
but I would smoke Camels or Lucky Strikes. Even without the filters, I didn't give a shit. I'd smoke anything.
That shit
If
is
you
rough.
had it, I
That shit
didn't
is
like
rough.
menthol. I didn't like the menthol shit.
Did you smoke weed or party, or were you just?
Oh
drink?
yeah.
The whole thing?
Everything. I mean, anything.
Yeah.
Back then, I mean, 70s was such a drug culture.
Right.
I mean, it just
It just
you know
wasn't-
that it was when everybody first started doing that shit. You know, it's like I'll make a joke about it. I go, the 70s was the wildest decade of our country's history, and it will never be repeated. They have legislated that.
Yeah.
Because they never thought there weren't laws against this shit because nobody thought that human beings would do that shit. Right. It was like up until then there was some kind of discipline and some kind of like standard for you drank, like you watched the series Mad Men.
Yeah.
You know, people were drinking and smoking, but nobody was going and scoring opium and and pot,
Right.
unless you were hanging out with jazz bands or something in the 30s, or you were artists, writers and shit. Supposedly did a lot of that, but just nobody. And then all of a sudden, this shit just comes. And I remember when pot was just everywhere. I mean, it was just and it was bad pot too. It was this Mexican cheap, oh God, it was nothing like what they have now. You'd have to smoke 2 joints to get what you get off of a puff of the shit now,
I was watching Cheech and Chong, and they were like, Chong was like, we need to score a lid of marijuana. What is a lid? Is that ounce?
A lid. What a lid was that it's an unweighed ounce. So you'd get a pound, and you'd break it up into lids. You didn't weigh, he was like, I ain't getting a fucking scale out.
Like a lid for a jelly jar or something?
So they would go, you go, was it a 2-finger lid or was it a 3-finger lid? A 3-finger lid, you hold your 3, you go, that's about wide enough. That looks, that's good for.
Oh, wow.
And that was like $15.
Jeez, Louise.
That was $15. But at the same time, you pick up a pack of Topps rolling papers. There's 100 rolling papers in there, right? Mm-hmm. And you would get the pack and you would open it on Friday afternoon. And by Sunday, you're out of papers. And you're like, how the fuck could that even be possible, what I'm looking at here?
Holy shit.
But, and I can remember when cocaine was introduced.
Yeah.
I was in Memphis, and Memphis was wild. Memphis was a city that was, that was back then was servicing in the countywide area 1.5 million at least people. They, until 1971, did not have liquor by the drink. What that means is you could not go into a bar and order a scotch and water. You had to bring your scotch in a brown bag, hand it to the bartender, and then, hand it to the bartender. Then you purchase, and usually you would pay a bottle fee. So maybe they charge you $10 for you to bring your bottle in, and then you purchase setups. And if you go, I just want a cup because I drink it straight, that would still cost you the same as a Coke or whatever, because that's how they made their money.
That's interesting.
And you would do that. And then there were private clubs where you paid a membership fee, and they would keep. There was all kinds of ways around it, but still and yet, you didn't have just a regular bar. So 1971, I think, was when they voted in liquor by the drink. I got there in 73 and started, and dropped out of college immediately and started working in the bars. And the bars were just crazy. I mean, Memphis, it was this big town that got liquor by the drink, and all these bars started opening up. And the music scene in Memphis was already really cool because Sun Records was there, and it already Jerry Lee and Elvis and Johnny Cash and so many of those guys had developed there, and all these musicians were coming to Memphis to either get in with Sun Records or just to be in the atmosphere.
The party
of
atmosphere.
It. Yeah, just to be in that air.
Right,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Elvis was still there. Jerry Lee used to play at a little 150-seat bar all the time. And, I mean, you could see him. His daughter was the house band. And he sat in with them all the time. And you would see stars a lot. I mean, I remember a guy came in one afternoon real slow, about 2 o'clock, and I was working, and he just wanted to get a cheeseburger and fries to go and a beer. And I'm sitting there talking to him, and he's, what do you do? And he goes, I'm a musician, man. I'm a songwriter, and just that. And there were a lot of that in Memphis. So I go, yeah, my name's Les. What's your name? John. He goes, if you see me around, it's John Prine. And yeah, man, and so I mean, there was a lot of people like that. But so the drugs just went with that alcohol, and if you Quaaludes got Quaaludes.
I was just about to ask you about that.
Yeah,
I've heard legends.
Ludes showed up in the 70s.
What were they, like Xanax?
They were stronger. They were more like oxycodone. They were more like a oxycodone. Oh. They're the same. They're an opioid. They're an opioid painkiller. So they're in the same class with oxycodone or.
I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah, they're in that same class. So back then, I remember the two pills that were just prevalent. I mean, you could just, everybody had them, were Valium and Quaaludes.
Yeah.
And as there was, because Elvis was still alive, and his doctor, Dr. Nicopolis, was untouchable. If you worked for Elvis, you were untouchable in Memphis.
Right.
You know, you just could pretty much get away with murder. You know, and so you knew that Nicopolis, and there were about another dozen doctors that were his buddies. If you wanted any of these drugs, you just went in. You went in, got an appointment. You sat with got with the doctor, and you told the doctor to go, look, I work late night shifts.
Right.
Sometimes I don't get off till 3 o'clock in the morning. I have to go in the next day and work a double, and I have to I can't go right to sleep, and I need something to help me, and this, that, and the other. And they would always go, okay, we're going to give you a prescription for Valium, right? And then all you had to say was, the code was, I've tried that. That doesn't really, it really doesn't. And as soon as you say that, he goes, oh, okay, then we'll give you Quaaludes, which are not for sleeping. And they're not for sleeping. They're for pain medication. They're pain.
But did they like knock you out, or were you just like?
When they would knock me out now. But when you're young, you're just partying like a motherfucker. But you're
so if you drank on them, you were like assed the fuck out.
You were fucking.
Did you see Wolf of Wall Street?
Yes. Yes, that's it.
With the
and there was a
Steve the Man.
And the saying was, the big Q gets the big O. The big Quaalude gets the big orgasm. Every girl wanted a Quaalude.
Really?
Yes.
Holy
and
shit.
that was, see, this is pre-Coke.
Yeah.
Coke had not even shown up yet.
Really?
No. Because it wasn't until, if you watch that...
that was like the disco.
Well, if you watch that documentary, Cocaine Cowboys.
I did.
Right?
I heard that's amazing.
Well, it was the mid-'70s.
You can't stop watching it.
It was the mid-'70s before Coke got introduced, because the Colombians were just sticking it in bales of pot and sending it with the pot and going, hey, try this shit out. Put it around, see if you can sell
sample.
it. And if you can, we got a bunch of it, right? And I remember...
Do I have time to use the restroom before he gets off?
Go ahead.
How long has he been on?
I have to go look. I'm going to say 10 minutes. He's doing 25. When you walk out, you look up at the clock, you can see how long he's been on.
I'm sorry.
You got time. No, it's okay.
Yeah, he's been up for 15.
We'll continue this later.
15, 16 minutes, I think.
But yeah, I'll tell you, Mike.
Quaaludes, yeah.
So the thing was that you had the mid-'70s when that was introduced. So Quaaludes were the big, what people partied on.
Yeah.
So, if you met a girl at a bar and you had Quaaludes, you're in. You're in like Flint. Plus the girl. Now, of course, the girl takes a Quaalude. Well, of course, the inhibitions go right out the window.
Right.
Now, they do refer to that as date rape now.
That's date rape.
That's what it's called. It's called date rape. But back then, you weren't. Nobody. I never knew anybody that was slipping a Quaalude into somebody's drink. Right. No, you didn't have to. You saw a pretty girl, you go up, you start talking to her, you buy her a drink. You're like, you get. She's a partier.
And it's brand new too.
You can tell she's, she wants to party, and we're having fun. And you can just ask her, go, you want a lewd?
You want a lewd, right?
And she's either gonna go, nah, that ain't me.
Yeah.
Or if she goes, yeah, you got any? Well, it's, I mean, here you go. Well, as soon as you hand her that lewd, you go, well, let the games begin. And you take one too, know. But but I remember when Coke first started coming in, mid-'70s, and I was a bartender at a place called the Ritz in Memphis. It was a music showroom, seat like 400 people. There was a main one called Lafayette, same thing, and then the Ritz opened later. And the Ritz, and I worked at Lafayette's too. And that we had Billy Joel, we had Barry Manilow, we had Linda Ronstadt, we had George Thorogood and Destroyers, we had Meatloaf when he did his first Bat Out of Hell tour, we had Albert King, B.B. King, Rufus Thomas, Booker T and the MGs. I mean, just amazing the people that came through Memphis during this time and played this place. And so we had Roy Buchanan there, and Roy was one of the greatest blues guitarists that's ever lived. And so he was there for 3 days, for a weekend. And we had a great weekend, just packed the place. And on Sunday, backstage, as the roadies are packing everything up, there was about maybe 15 of us, all guys, all guys, and staff and a few friends and the band. So the manager comes down, and Jerry, and he comes down, and he's like, "Hey man, this was a great week, everybody." And we had seen Coke. Coke had come around. We had all tried it. You know, it was something that was around, you know, and it was just starting to pop up. And Jerry pulls out a bag of cocaine that, I mean, like not your sandwich bag, but those big fucking gallon freezer fucking bags. And I mean, it wasn't 3 fingers, it was a fucking hand and a half. You know, I mean, it had to stand up. This Coke had to stand up almost 6 inches high in a gallon plastic bag, and we'd never seen so much Coke. How much time has he done?
Oh, shining luck.
Oh, okay.
Where's the clock?
It's up above the stage. What is it?
He's probably about 20. Cause
Where'd he go?
he's ready.
Oh.
19 minutes.
Oh, okay, cool. So he's got 6 more minutes. So we're just saying, with the Coke, when early 70s, mid 70s, so anyway, he throws this huge bag of Coke down on a table. We're sitting backstage, and he goes, "You can't take any with you, but as long as we're here hanging out, do as much as you want.
Do as much as you want.
Do as much as you want." And I look at my buddy Rufus, and I'm like, "How much of that can you do before you die?"
Yeah, right.
And Rufus goes, "You can't die from snorting coke.
No, dude. Oh,
You can't die from snorting coke. You have to run it up to die. We ain't crazy. None of us are needle freaks. We ain't doing that shit." So he goes, "Snort all you want." And me said, "Sounds good." I was like, "Okay."
I trust you.
And we didn't die, obviously. Oh my God, that was crazy. And then because we were just saying that Quaaludes were pre-Coke. So when you met a girl in a bar,
Right.
and you figured out she was fun and partying, she liked you, you're getting along talking. No one, because we're talking about how that's date rape now, you know, is roofing a girl, right?
Yeah, definitely.
The big Q gets the big O. The big Quaalude gets the big orgasm.
Right.
But the thing was, back then, nobody was sneaking a Quaalude into somebody's drink. You were just going, "Hey, want to do a lewd?" And if the girl goes, "Yes," you go, "Well, I pretty much know how this evening's going to go."
Right.
Either you were going to get lucky, or she was going to pass the fuck out.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? She was going to get too fucked up.
Right.
You know what I mean? So you had to walk that line.
At that point, yeah.
And then Coke came around. But Coke was really late 70s into the 80s.
Can I just have like 2 minutes just to look over my stuff? And get
Yeah.
ready? I'm
Don't even
sorry.
come.
I want to
No.
keep doing this.
No, keep doing it. We'll do this later.
I have some new 90s stuff, and I don't have. I just want to make sure I have it down.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, go.
Is that okay?
No, it's fine.
I'm
Because
sorry.
actually, I'm going to break from this because I want to go watch some of your show.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you want to do some after?
Well, you're selling T-shirts, though, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
We can do it tomorrow too.
We could see. I want to ask you one thing.
Yes, sir.
You got a girlfriend since you've been here.
I do.
And is that real new?
4 months.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's
Yeah.
good. Is that it? So, are y'all living together or no?
We are living together. Yeah, it was an easy transition because I live with my parents.
Oh.
So I was like, "Sarah, I'm coming over," and we're very similar people.
Did you move back to Florida, or are you still out in LA?
I'm in Florida, and I want to move back next year.
Oh, okay.
But my father's sick, unfortunately, and I came back,
sorry.
and that's okay. And plus, I ran out of money in Hollywood.
well,
yeah,
yeah.
It's very expensive, but I came back here to see my dad. I met Sarah, and it's like I can stay with her and save money.
And you can still work your stuff.
And I'm on the road a lot, but I really want to I'm just trying to write I try to write an hour every day, and I just want to be the best comic I can be.
You're one of the funniest human beings I know.
I try.
I'm telling you, man.
I
You
try.
are,
I'm a perfectionist, and I'm never totally happy, and I want to be like cleaner, smarter, bigger, better. But I watch. I'm a comedy fan.
Yeah.
I watch every night before bed. I'll watch Robin Williams.
Go ahead and do what you need to do.
I'm sorry.
Get ready. Don't be sorry.
Oh no! Don't apologize.
That's all right. Because Bull's going to come off here in a minute. You know, it's cool.
He hits that stage, man. Holy shit!
Oh yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you know, that's the thing for me as a club owner. You know, if the comics that I will watch multiple times are always the ones that are characters.
Right,
you know,
right,
DeCrosta, Dale, Eric. You know, it's those comics, Orny.
Right.
You know,
Orny,
that
yeah.
are they're these super big, outrageous characters. And so for me, because just material alone,
Right.
it's rare for me that the material itself is so brilliant
Right.
that I can watch it multiple times and still enjoy it. I mean, you know, after I've seen it a couple times, you know how it is. You've seen it. You know, you've seen the deal. You know,
No
and that's
surprise.
generally what I do. But when a comic is as fun to watch physically as they are to listen to, then it takes on, for me, Eric, all those comics will do shit on stage that's just because the way they are, that will happen just that in that moment.
Yeah,
you
there's
know,
always-
that
it's like
cracks me up.
That magic that. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know. But and that's me. That's me. I mean, obviously, I'm sure there's other people that are the exact opposite.
Sinbad did that for me a lot. Like just watching him, how he just so. It almost seems like he's coming out of thin air with it.
Sure.
It's ridiculous.
Sinbad, it's like every show you don't know what it's going to be.
It's crazy.
You know that in 5 shows he's going to give you 5+ hours that have very few similarities.
Yeah.
You know, other than I mean, you
Very
know,
few
maybe a quarter of the show is
Right.
similar to the other show.
But sometimes like
nobody does that
He'll
I
be
see.
covering like a similar subject, but it's put together differently. It's reworded. It's some
yeah.
shit that he.
Oh, I
just
think
throws in
Sinbad's
there.
one of the most underrated comics
Oh, my
out there.
God.
I mean, I you know, I mean, as far as, you know, I've told that story before. When I watched him do that outdoor show at Disney
yeah.
in front of 5,000 people, and he's making children laugh
Right.
with their grandparents and teenagers, and they're all laughing their ass off outdoors in an amphitheater, and then he goes backstage, and they do a second show 2 hours later expecting everybody to leave, and nobody left. And the stage manager goes, nobody left, and now there's like 8,000 people out there. Most of them are the ones that just saw your first show, and he didn't bat an eye. And he went
Really?
out there and did another hour and 20 minutes, totally different from what he did before, and it was all material that made children laugh, and their grandparents, and their teenage.
Nobody can do
I go,
that.
who does? We literally sat back there. It was me and a few comics, and oh God, who was the? I'm trying to think of the basketball star that was back there with us. Shit.
Big time or
Yes, big, like Hall
Magic?
of Famer. No. God, I'll think of it anyway. But that's a bitch of getting 63, you know. But anyway, Dominique Wilkins.
okay.
Dominique Wilkins. And we were all standing on the side watching him on the second show, and we all were going, who else can do this?
Yeah.
We go, Bill Cosby.
Right.
Only person we could think of that could pull this off, and that was his mentor, unfortunately.
Right.
What a sad case that is. But we were going, Billy Crystal might be able to do it if he had a full orchestra.
Right.
Robin couldn't have done it because he couldn't have stayed clean enough that long.
right.
I don't think.
No.
I don't think he could have.
Oh, that's a good point.
Talented enough, but just, here he goes. Here goes the good bull.
All right.
I think he's wrapping up.
I'm sorry about that, lass.
It's okay, man.
Yeah, we got some gold.
Oh, we got a lot of shit.
Oh yeah.
I was
We got an hour already.
We got a lot of stuff. We got plenty of stuff.
I'm trying to move. I do that 90s shit at the end, but I want to move it into the middle.
Oh!
got him, buddy.
There are two ladies that are sitting right over there. You're going to have so much fun with them. Oh my God. They're crying. They're laughing.
Oh, really?
Thanks, boy. You killed. Great job.
Oh, thanks for coming here.
This gentleman was introduced to us several years ago. We started the top clubs in Florida, all the really solid clubs in Florida. Got together and said, let's do
It's like the Matrix right there.
Florida's Finest. So we all
that
get to see
rainbow.
who's out here and stuff. And this gentleman, the very first year, won this thing hand in hand. And he has just done like this ever since.
I went to this religious rehab because I'm Catholic and my dad made me go.
Are you ready?
And my first AA meeting was like a Catholic AA meeting, and I'm not making this up. End of the AA meeting, a priest came out and poured us all glasses of red wine. I'm not kidding. And I was like, is there alcohol in the wine? He's like, yeah, but once we bless the wine, you can drink it because it has transformed into the blood of Jesus. I'm like, no shit. Can they bless this bag of cocaine? No, officer, this is the dandruff of the Lord. We is blessed tonight.
Oh. Boys. Good set. It sounded like you were having a lot of fun.
Oh, it was a lot of fun. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, they were good. They were good. Oh, man.
Yeah, it's a good audience. The guy in the front didn't look like he was having much fun, but I think there's
The guy on the right?
There's
I
a
think-
medical issue.
Yes. I mean, I looked at him, and I go, this, you know what? He looks like he could be 90 years old.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, easily looks like he could be 90 years old.
Really?
And I looked at the woman who's next to him, and I go, at first you go, wife, and I go, maybe, probably daughter.
Yeah.
And she looks 70,
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
but easily could be his daughter. And I thought, you know what, daughter or wife, how cool that she brought him.
Right.
Go, let's get him. And then he went.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if he knows where the fuck he is or, whatever, but he's here.
I had a situation almost exactly like this. It looked exactly the same, and the guy just sat there stone-faced through the entire show. And afterwards, his wife came up, and she said, "Oh my gosh," she goes, "My husband had an amazing time. He had a great time." And I said, "I got to be honest with you, ma'am. He didn't look like he even cracked a smile through the whole show." She said, "Well, he has Parkinson's, and he doesn't." But that's the first time I've ever seen a Parkinson's that made people not move. It's a different version of Parkinson's,
wow.
where he can't crack a smile, and he just sits there stone. My father has Parkinson's, and it's causes him to shake really bad.
Right.
But that guy, he didn't move. I mean, I thought he wasn't breathing.
One year, many years ago, somebody asked me to do a private show at a head trauma. It was a hospital. It was like a clinic, but it was an inpatient place, residential, and everybody in there's head trauma. And they go, look, there'll be about 50 or 60 patients, but there'll be 100 employees there.
Oh, okay.
So we're doing it. The patients are going to be there, but go, look, you're not going to get anything from the patients. They can't. They can't give you. He said, but I'm going to tell you right now, they're laughing.
Okay.
They are responding inside.
Yeah.
They just can't. They physically can't make it happen. And they said, head trauma patients are not prudes.
Right.
Generally, head trauma patients were high-risk individuals.
Yeah.
They're people that ride motorcycles. They climb mountains. They do risky things, and that's the reason they have ended up with head trauma. So they told me, they go, don't be clean. I mean, in other words, just do what you do.
Yeah.
Just do your regular shit. Hello, Marcella.
Marcella.
You can sit right there if you want, next to Bull.
Oh my goodness.
We were just talking about the guy in the front row who looks like he's 90 years old and he doesn't react. You know who I'm talking about?
He probably is 90 years old.
I was but
100.
you know who I'm talking? He could be 100. you know. But I was just talking about, I did a show one time for head trauma patients, and they couldn't respond, but the nurses and everybody there would.
Right.
And it was so, for me, I was like, okay, I'm gonna play to them, and I'm gonna hold. You know what I mean? It's like you hold for your laugh and everything, even when you're not hearing it.
Right.
You know, kind of a deal. So yeah, that could be it for an old guy like that sitting in the front row. He could be having
He's not getting up and leaving, so he's having fun inside there.
Yeah, something.
Yeah.
Something. Yeah, look, when I looked over at one point during my show, it looked like he had a little episode or something.
Yeah, he was doing that when I was up there, too.
And she kind of reached over, and I thought she was going to take him out, but nope, she kind of scooted his chair around where he could look at me without turning his head.
Oh,
you
wow.
know?
Want to get a better look.
Yeah, and she kind of backed him up a little bit.
Wow.
And I go, okay, man, all right. You know, good for him. You know, stay in your chair.
Yeah, well, he's gonna have a panic attack with him. I'm telling you right now.
Yeah, with
I'm
Myer.
47. I have a hard time with him. He's way too much energy for me.
Oh God, yeah.
Do it.
Hey, I would love. Can you arrange, Marcella, a cheeseburger?
I can do it all, Les. I can even go back there and make it for you if you want.
Fried up in the pan. What was that old song? No, she's a woman. There was some commercial back then. All right.
Some fries too?
Yes, I'm gonna
Anybody
be bad.
else?
No, nothing.
I'll do some chicken strips,
Yeah.
Chicken strips.
fries, like I'm 12.
Yes. Chicken strips with ranch.
With pound.
And,
Yeah.
I think you
Yes.
might need some ranch.
and
Cider
and
ranch.
a Sam Adams.
You can do that too.
Thank you, Marcella.
Cider ranch.
Side of ranch.
I'm doing low carb, and nothing right now sounds better than a cheeseburger and a Sam Adams. That's,
You could do a cheeseburger, no bun.
yeah, I ate before I got here.
That's good.
Yeah.
I tell you, when I want my weight to go down, and people look at me and go, "You want your weight to go down, you asshole." But dude, I ought to punch you right now. What do you want to do? But that is, I found that if I strictly will go carbs, not even sugar, you know, just strictly bread, pasta, potatoes, you know, just that basic shit. If I just kind of don't eat that, it's amazing how much those are the extra wasted calories that I just take in.
Oh yeah.
You know, but I started this year, and I wasn't planning on it, but I just this year started, and I was sitting at home, and I get up generally, and I go have my coffee, and I open up my laptop. I kind of give myself an hour, and then I open up the laptop, and once you go to emails, for me, it's like that's a rabbit hole that's going to take about 3 hours to get out of.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you're not expecting anything. You're going, I've got 3 or 4 people I need to contact.
Right.
And then here, let the games begin. And so generally, I thought about the fact that, you know, I was about, I started about 10 o'clock. So it was right around lunchtime. And I go, I'm not hungry. And I thought, well, then why eat? I'm not hungry because it's lunchtime. And I thought about how often I will eat because I've been programmed to eat
At those times.
So I said, you know what I'm going to do this year? I'm going to eat when I'm hungry.
Yeah.
Right.
And I have found for me, occasionally I want something in the morning. Sometimes I don't.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like 2.5 cups of coffee, and I sit down and start getting into writing or answering emails. And next thing I know, usually when I find I'm hungry, it's about 1:30 to 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
And I go, I'm hungry. And then I want to eat. I want to eat. That's why I want to eat like almost my biggest meal.
Yeah.
I want to eat. And then generally, I might have a little snack or I might grab a little something. But then I generally, if I'm coming down here to do a show, I won't eat dinner because I ate at 2.
Yeah, exactly.
So then I'll come down here,
Hold you over.
do the show, fart around, and by the time I grab something here, it's 8 o'clock,
Right,
8:30, or I'll just grab a little something here, and then I'll get home and I'll eat at 9.
Right.
And I like to eat at 9. and people go, oh, that's horrible for you. No, it's calories in, calories out. Mm-hmm. I don't think it matters when you eat. My weight, it's weight. If you burn 2,500 calories and you eat 24, you're going to lose weight.
Oh, yeah.
If you eat 26, you're going to gain weight.
Are you like
it's
a
just
night
that
owl?
fucking simple.
Do you stay up late though? Because like they mean like don't eat right before you go to bed, basically.
Yeah, but you know what? I do. Now, I used to stay up later. Now, Pam and I, we love to watch Colbert to see what rant he's going to go on.
Yeah,
you know,
it's very
on
interesting
Trump.
now.
It's always, well, it's like, I go, if I haven't watched the news all day, I'm like, let's see what Trump's done today. Because if he's done something crazy, Colbert is going to go nuts about it. And then you can look it up and see what the fuck really happened. But anyway, so about the time that he's finished with that,
Well,
it's
11,
about midnight.
12.
It's usually about midnight. So somewhere 12 to 12:30 is about the time I kind of go to bed.
Right.
Now, when I come in on weekends,
Yeah.
2,
Right.
2:30. But I'll tell you what, I do eat late, and I eat ice cream
Sugar.
about somewhere an hour before I go to bed. I eat Haagen-Dazs or Ben & Jerry's almost every fucking night.
Ben and Jerry's. Ugh.
I know, and Pam was like, she'll tease me about. Now it's just like she knows,
Yeah.
it's coming, and it's like, would you ever stop doing that? I go, the day that a doctor goes, if you don't stop doing that,
Right.
you're easily going to take a lot of years off your life. But he has to tell me that. If the doctor don't tell, it could already be doing that, but.
Does he know though?
I'll tell you what.
He does know that.
I'll tell you what. The result of ending up dead really depends on the flavor of Ben and Jerry's that you're eating. I mean,
Yeah.
I-
New York
I would-
Super Chunk will kill your ass in a heartbeat.
I would myself. I would risk it for Chunky Monkey.
Chunky
I
Monkey?
love Chunky Monkey.
Oh,
I
God.
love it.
That's good shit.
Risk it all.
Good shit.
Throw it all out the window.
Risk it all for some ice cream.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the problem with me is I will buy the little Ben and Jerry's and stuff. I know it's more expensive because when it comes to like getting a tub of ice cream, I have zero portion control. I will sit and I will eat ice cream.
A
And
buddy of mine, Ken Sons, who
Ken
comic,
Sons.
Ken goes, there's two kind of people in the world. There's people that take the lid off the ice cream and save it. And there's people that take the lid off and throw it in the garbage.
That's fucking true.
They
man.
already know.
That is me.
There's going to be no use for this son
It's
of
been
a
a rough
that
day.
is me. That is me. And I try to get so close to. I get so close to ice cream. Like right now, I'm doing low carb. I've been doing it for about a week now, and I start craving ice cream. And the only thing I can do to get close is sit down to a tub of Cool Whip. I can have Cool Whip, and I'm like, this is horrible ice cream.
Oh, God.
That's all I can have.
Oh, shit. Well, I know it's like, told Pam, I knew I was getting successful when I could always go to the grocery store and buy. Haagen-Dazs only has vanilla in the gallon.
Okay.
They only make vanilla in a gallon.
Right.
Then they make quarts of chocolate, strawberry, and the caramel.
Right.
Douche la douche, whatever the fuck they call it. La calouche. So I will go and I will buy douche la douche.
That's a vinegar flavored ice
It
cream,
is,
isn't
kind
it?
of a little bit. It's a little salty. The Lightning are in a fight again, and I don't know who. Oh, they're playing the Red Wings. Well, of course they're in a fight. But I keep those three in my freezer at all times. It's like then you just throw in the Ben and Jerry's and shit, you know. But like you go, you come to my house, you want ice cream. There's some fucking ice cream, and it ain't Briars.
No.
Yeah, exactly.
It ain't
Yeah, I don't
fucking
get that either.
Mayfields, and you know Mayfields.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's what.
Well,
we grew
see,
up with.
when I was a kid, I know you remember it. I mean, you a little older than me, but remember today they've got frozen yogurt, but when we were younger, it was called ice milk.
Yes,
Remember that?
that's right. That's right.
Milk?
Ice
called
milk.
ice milk.
It was
Yep.
made from skim milk,
Yep.
I think, instead of whole milk.
Yep.
I remember that ice milk.
Just like use a freaking ice pick to get.
It was a
at it.
little, it
Yeah.
wasn't quite as creamy as.
It wasn't as creamy, and sometimes it was grainy. It was
More water
really
in it.
cheap.
But it
yeah.
was better than nothing.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
True.
I mean, you didn't complain about it.
Right. Exactly.
You know, because your parents would look at you and go,
Oh, yeah.
well, you don't like this? Well, that's just fine with me because we don't need to have this at all.
We didn't.
No,
we
no.
didn't complain about a lot. Now, when I was a kid, how old are you?
27.
27 years old. Yeah.
And how old are
I
you?
was a kid, 47.
And I'm 63. So we have all three generations here.
Pretty much. Yeah.
When I was a kid, they had an entire aisle of the grocery store that was dedicated to your generic products. So
okay.
you didn't have store name products. You had all of your brand name products, and then that one aisle full of generic. And you had everything in there, from condoms to beer, chips, everything.
White
And it was
box
just
with
white
black
box.
letters?
It was either white or yellow, and then it had a barcode, and it'd say what it is. It was just say chips, and then there'd be a barcode on it, and that's it. That's it.
I had not seen that before until I moved to Denver.
Okay.
In, let's see, that was 1980, right around 1980. I'd never seen that before. And the grocery store's there. And I do remember the beer, which was white can, it just said beer on it.
Really?
When you looked at the small letters on the bottom, it was Falstaff.
Oh, was it really?
It was Falstaff.
Oh.
It was.
that
So I realized that most of this stuff came, like the cereal was made by Kellogg's or Post or somebody, but it was just some overrun bullshit they had.
I gotcha.
Cornflakes or something
Right.
that they could just power out,
Right.
you know, kind of a thing.
I think for the longest time, all of those products, when they would come in a blank label like that, was what was government food. When you would get government stuff, you know, then you always got the plain label stuff, because we were really hard times when we were kids, and my mom would go and get that stuff, and it was that, and then they had the food stamps with the big colorful money. You didn't get the debit card like you get today. Big embarrassing colorful money.
Yeah. Wow.
Where and was it? That was right around Nashville, right?
No, we were closer to Knoxville. I grew up. It's not a joke. I actually went to school with Kenny Chesney. We were on the same football team.
Right,
Yeah.
I remember that.
Wow.
So that was outside of Knoxville.
Just outside of Knoxville, is a little area called Luttrell.
Oh,
is
okay.
Where we were. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Kenny still has a house there too. His tour bus goes by my cousin's house all the time.
Oh, cool. That's great.
Yep.
Yeah, because I grew up in Chattanooga. Hop and skip away.
Well, now you were. Isn't Big Ed Kaler from there too?
Yes.
Kaler and Janet Williams.
Janet Williams.
She's from there.
Janet Williams. Because we started the Comedy Catch there. Well, thank you. We started the Comedy Catch there. Ken Sons actually started it in 1985. And the reason he started it was because a comedy club owner shorted him $50 on his pay right here in Sarasota when it was in a little Ramada Inn. And he called me the next day and he goes, I was almost in a fucking fist fight with this asshole over $50 damn less. And Ken, before he got into comedy, was a principal of a school and a closed it was like a rehab place. He was a special ed guy.
Yeah.
I mean, he was, before he got into comedy, he was, I mean, and you're talking about he was making good money.
Right,
he was making a damn good paycheck.
Yeah.
And he was like 3 years ago, I'd piss on $50.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now I'm nearly in a fight with this asshole, and he's an asshole. And he goes, and I was just so wrought up, and I got back to my room, and I went, if that motherfucker can run a comedy club, certainly I can run a damn comedy club.
Wow.
And so Chattanooga didn't have one, and he went back. That was 1985, and he found a banquet room in a Holiday Inn that would seat 250 people. It used to be a disco, and they weren't doing anything with it. They were banquet room. And he talked him into letting him use it on the weekends. And he started out doing 5 shows, 2 Friday, 2 Saturday, 1 Sunday. Charged $5 at the door, cash, no credit cards.
Right.
And from the first weekend, out of, let's see, that's 1,250 seats. I'll bet he sold no less than 1,000 a weekend. That guy was making $5,000 a weekend cash money in his pocket.
Wow.
Like that.
But
and that-
since he's paid all the taxes on it.
Oh no, he lost.
Yeah,
all
I bet
that
he didn't
fucking
short
money.
anybody $50.
That was like drug money. It went as fast as it came in. It went out. He bought a BMW cash. He was like a drug lord. And but Janet, we started. Back then we started our comedy classes. After about the first year, we moved it over to a regular comedy club out of that banquet room. And simply because these open micers are getting on stage and they don't even know how to handle a microphone. You know, they don't even know how to be up there.
Yeah.
Let's at least do some classes where these guys at least know how to get up there and be. And Janet Williams was one of the first people who came through our classes. She was
Tennessee Tramp?
Tennessee Tramp. She was I think at the time she was a paralegal or something like that, and I think she was teaching over at University of Tennessee Chattanooga.
Wow.
Yeah, and she comes through and took our class, and then she's been doing comedy ever since. Yeah, a few people out of Chattanooga, a few. When I first opened down here, I of course tried to bring all the comics from Chattanooga that were legit, that could handle middling. Weren't many that were headlining yet.
Yeah.
But Ed Kaler wasn't even around back then. I'd bring them down here, and for the most part, their southern accents were so thick that the people down here who are all Northeast and Upper Midwest, I mean, they literally couldn't understand them. Wow. It'd be like putting an Irish or Scottish brogue up there, because how it is, like us. You've got less of an accent than I do.
Yeah.
And I'm about as much as they can take. But you got these guys coming in here talking like this right here, and they were like, holy
That's my family.
shit,
Oh, my family's like that.
And the southern guys that did well down here were Foxworthy and Ron White. But those guys don't have, Foxworthy's from Atlanta, and Ron's from Texas, and Ron Schock, and they all talk as a that mumble mouth.
Oh, yeah.
And I would tell him, I was going, man, you have got to speak more clearly. That's the reason it's not working. It's not that your shit's not funny. It is.
Yeah.
These people can't understand what you're saying.
He's not local. He's out of Orangedale now. Do you remember a comic named Johnny Roberts? You remember Johnny Roberts?
Boy, of course the name sounds familiar because it's such a
Generic
kind
name.
of common name.
He's got a deep Southern drawl, and we were doing the H2O show, and he came up to me one day, and he goes, he was talking to somebody around me, and he said something about me being his family, and I said, Johnny, why are you lying to people? You're not my family. He goes, and he looks at me, he goes, well, hell, you Fortner, ain't you? And I said, How do you know my family name? How do you know my family's Fortner? He goes, I done told you we're related.
Shit.
Yeah, like down the line, he's apparently related to us, but he's related to Fortners through my family. I'm like, I couldn't even believe it. But
It's like a comedy stalker.
Oh,
how did you find that out?
yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you. You know what's really cool is I went through. It was years ago. I went through the talking about family. I went through the Sally Jesse Raphael show back when she was doing the finding adopted families and putting them back together.
Yeah. Right.
She was doing that. Well, I went on there and I found my real family through there.
Oh, you were adopted?
Yeah, I was adopted.
Okay.
So I found my real family on there, and they said if you take 4 kids and they grow up in the same family, you'll find all of them are fighting for their own identity. You'll find one kid, just music-wise, one will listen to country, one will listen to oldies, one will listen to pop, one will listen to, just whatever. But they say if you take those 4 kids and you separate them, put them in other households, you'll find that they all have similar interests. And I found my real family, and my sister out of Omaha, Nebraska, is a stand-up comic.
Wow. What's her name?
Her name is Christina Witalski.
She good? pretty good.
It's a hobby for her.
Yeah,
She does a lot more. She does a lot more of the improv troupe stuff.
Yeah.
She did the Nick at Night, Mom's Nick at Night
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
She did one of those, and then she just contacted me last week, and she was telling me about our cousin. His name is I think it's Billy Fish. He's out of Michigan. He's doing stand-up comedy now.
That's wild.
Good night. It's in
That
the family.
is
Runs in
Wow.
the fucking
It's in the
family.
blood. Yeah.
That's interesting. You know, our daughter's adopted, and she knows her birth family, but the main thing when mentioning that, how kids that all grow up together are different. I know when Pam and I were talking about adopting, and we were like, you know, when you go through, well, you know, getting the genetics from somebody else, and you don't know what you're getting, and da 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 da. And I was like, Pam, how many families we know have 3 or 4 kids? One of them is a genius. One of them is a drug addict that you can't keep out of jail.
Right.
And the other one, you know, likes, you know, to fix cars.
Yeah.
And like you say, they're as different as different can be. I know, we all know brothers and sisters that aren't close.
Yeah.
But, you know, they really, you know, they're not friends, especially. They, you know. And so I was like, I don't think it, you know, I think kids are just, I don't know. I believe that genetics obviously has a lot to do with it. But I think every baby, I mean, at 63, I've seen now a lot of children that I've watched from birth to now grown up.
Right.
And you know what? The little personality that they had in their first year is the same personality they have right now.
Right.
They're just kind of people, whether it's their soul or whatever it is that makes them them.
Right.
And to me, and that's the thing that to me it makes you go, people have souls. You know, that there's something that just makes them uniquely them, because you know, because I've seen people go through environmental things that you would think would really change them, really make them different from their basic core how they were.
Yeah.
Not really. Not really.
Really?
You know, not a lot. You know, they're just how they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know
cool.
I didn't know your daughter was adopted. Now,
Yep.
does she connect with the real family?
Yeah, well, the thing that happened with us was, and she doesn't, you know, she has an okay relationship with them, you know, but unfortunately, and it's just the reason she is adopted is because that family had issues and some problems and challenges and things that if they didn't, well, she wouldn't be with me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And those issues and things like that are, you know, the way Taylor's been brought up and the way that birth family, even with siblings and stuff that are there, have been brought up. They're just very different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And a lot of it comes from just, you know, poverty and you know, that sort of thing. And you know, so she's tried to connect, and I think out of all the siblings, there's one that her and him kind of, you know, when they talk and they get along and can get along.
Yeah.
You know, I think the others. So, you know, but that was, you know, one of the things that I think we learned that in her case that we would have done differently was when she was born, her birth mother had 4 kids total. One was adopted, Taylor. She had 2 daughters, older, and then after Taylor, she had 1 more son. Basically, every time she had a new husband, she was going to have a baby with that husband. And so the daughter that was closest to Taylor's age was the same birth father. So we go, not only does she have a sister, she's a full sister. Same mother, same father. And they only lived about an hour and a half away. And we thought, you know, a lot of it was me. I was like, you know, I think it'd be a shame that they don't meet each other until we got burgers and fries. Lovely, thank you. That's great. That's an Oscar burger. Those are famous. Those are famous, named after
Only
my
available
grandfather.
at McCurdy's Comedy Theater.
Thanks, Marcella. So, where was I headed with this? So I
How
can't remember.
similar they are.
Oh, yeah. Here was the deal: was the fact that you have these two girls. They're only a year and a half different. They live close. I thought, what a shame it would be that they meet when they're 20, and realize that they grew up an hour and a half from each other, and we never allowed them to connect. And I said, that just doesn't seem right to me.
Yeah.
And so what we would do was that we stayed in touch with the birth mom. We said, look, why don't we every so often, at least twice a year, maybe 3 times, we'll just meet somewhere like McDonald's has a big playground. You know, we'll have lunch, let the kids play, take pictures. You know what I mean? Yeah. So at least they grow up knowing each other and da-da-da. And so, and then you just kind of let that evolve. And unfortunately, it didn't work out to where they ended up growing up to be friends because they were just too different. Right. But in hindsight, that I wouldn't have done that because it's too much for the kids.
It's really confusing.
It's confusing. You know, here on either side, here is the kid that's adopted going, that's my birth family. Mm-hmm. You know, and am I supposed to be like them? And am I supposed to be da-da-da? Here's the kids in the birth family that are barely getting by, you know, struggling. Right. Taylor's got everything. She's an only child. Right. Parents are successful. Right. She's got everything she could possibly want. Yeah. Well, you know what I mean? Is that fair? Yeah. You know what I mean?
It's like two different worlds.
It's two different worlds. Yeah. I mean, it's almost like the most fair thing would have been if we could have adopted the other little girl, if we could have gotten both of them, you know? Yeah. But that wasn't going to happen. So in hindsight, if I was counseling a parent that was in that situation, I would say, you know what? It seems like you should do it that way, but it's too the kid. Yeah. Adults can figure it out, but they can't figure it out. You know, so you are better off to wait until to just tell her you're adopted. Tell the other kid you have a sister that we adopted. We needed to be able to take care of everybody. Right. And when you turn 18. I am going to tell you who they are, where we'll stay in touch. Right. As long as we both, and then when they turn 18, I'll tell you who they are, where they are, whole 9 yards. Yeah. And if you want to go connect, I'll support that 1,000%. Because you know what I mean.
Did she know from early on that she was adopted?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
See,
from
that's
as early on. Did. Yeah, you need to tell them. I always, you know, it's not good to hide. That you want that kid to know. I mean, Taylor knew as soon as she could understand anything that she was adopted.
Well, my parents, I grew up knowing it from day one. Mm-hmm. I knew the word adoption, but I realized how hard it was when I adopted my daughter because my oldest daughter's adopted, and we had got to a point where I would be talking with the kids. Tara was still really little. And I'd be talking with the kids.
Your daughter's name Tara?
Yeah.
That's my sister.
Is it? Yeah. But I would talk to the kids, and we would say, tell my son Balin, I'm like, you got Dad's eyes, and Tegan, you have Dad's nose, and we would go back and forth. And Tara would always ask, well, what do I have that's Daddy's? And I could only say my heart. I could only say that to her. Right. And after a while, she got tired of hearing that answer, and she wanted to hear something more. So it was just about Christmas time. I didn't want to ruin Christmas, but I told my wife at the time, I said, I can't do this anymore. I said, I have to tell her. So I took my daughter aside and we sat in the bedroom and I explained it to her, and I was just in tears telling her this because I was afraid that she wouldn't love me the way that she did. And when I was done telling her, I said, do you have any questions? And she was so little, and she looks at me, she said, yes, I do. She goes, but you can't handle it right now. And I just started crying so much harder. Yeah. It's like she was she's already
How old
so
was
old.
she when she said that?
She couldn't have been 5-6 years old.
Right,
she was so little. I wanted to make sure that she was able to comprehend, everything. Mm-hmm. And to this day, she is so similar to me. She's more similar to me than the blood kids. I mean, she's so similar. Everything about her is the same thing.
Yeah.
My mom used to have a saying. My mom's it's her family that's from Tennessee, but she used to have a saying. She said, "If you feed it, it'll look like you." So and everything else follows. You feed it, it'll act like you. You know,
Yeah.
and she does. She acts just like me.
It's a nature versus nurture.
Oh, no, well,
Oh,
no
yeah.
doubt,
Yeah.
no doubt, and you know, as you know, to this day, and of course, I'm religious enough that I believe in God, and I believe in a an intelligent God that cares,
Yeah, right.
that knows and cares, not, and but I just go, Taylor, when all comes down, we can all look back at it, in hindsight, and go, if you weren't supposed to be here, you wouldn't have been here.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at how everything came together and how we ended up, with you, how you ended up with us. And now Taylor all day long can look back at her life and go, thank goodness.
Oh, yeah.
I hit the lottery.
Right.
You know what I mean? That it worked out. And I go, and your birth family was smart enough to know it too. I mean, or it wouldn't have
Yeah.
happened. They were,
sure.
they were.
They made a good decision. Too.
Yes, they did. They made a great choice.
Were
and a
they
great
kids at
decision.
the time? Because I know my folks were just teenagers.
No, they were in their 20s.
Were they?
They were 20s.
Yeah. What's so funny is I was born in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and here it is years and years and years later. I'm on Sally Jesse Raphael, their website for bighugs.com, and I put in all my information, and it lined up with this lady named Joyce Boldan, and everything was perfect. Everything was the same. And I went in and I told my ex-wife, I said, you got to come in and see this. I said, I think I found my mom. And when we came back into the computer, it was gone. So I spent another hour putting everything back in again, and it wouldn't pop up. And immediately I get a call from bighugs.com. They said, usually we have to research this for like weeks. They said, this is your mother. They said, everything is the same. And they wanted to fly us to New York to be on the Sally Jesse Raphael show for Mother's Day. Big reveal and stuff. But when they called my mother, she suffered from narcolepsy. And she was afraid that she was going to fall asleep on the stage.
Right.
And she didn't want to be embarrassed. So they said, well, you know what? They said, well, we still want to find out some other stuff. And as they were asking her to re-give them some of the information, they screwed up and said something they shouldn't have. And she realized that they found me. So they just went ahead and gave her the information. They gave me the information. She was in the big lake. Okeechobee.
Yeah.
It's up in Lake Okeechobee.
Oh.
So
Oh,
from
shit.
all that distance from here to Michigan, she was just hours away from me. I went and saw her.
Wow.
And then as I was talking to her, I told her what area I live in. And she said, I got a friend that lives over in that area. She goes, his name is Gordon. He works at a gas station over on 9th Street in St. Pete, over near 9th and Gandy. And I said, are you talking about full service Gordo? I said, I've been dealing with Gordon for years. I said, he's not my dad, is he? She said, no. Like, I've been dealing with this guy for 20 years, and he's
Small
best
world.
friends with my mom.
Ain't that crazy?
It is such a small world.
It is small world. It ain't 6 degrees of separation. It's like 3, maybe.
Oh, yeah.
It
Oh, yeah.
really is. That's how close we are as a culture. That's a great story. We know comedian Julie Scoggins, she just found her mother, her birth mom, God, I think 2 years ago,
Right.
2 or 3, and she was over in Orlando, and she found her, and then she found her on Facebook.
What?
And she started to kind of, watch her and and she friended her, and I think was the way it works, what she told me. And then there was a point where she messaged her through Facebook.
Oh my gosh.
And somehow she let her know that I think I'm your daughter. And if you don't want this to go any further, I totally get it. You know what I mean? I totally get it. I don't want to force the issue or anything. And I think it was, I think the way Julie tells it, I don't think it happened immediately, but so she wasn't quite sure. But then at some point she was like, "Nah, man, that's cool."
Wow.
Went over there, and of course now they have Yeah, that's a cheeseburger, baby.
That's
a
famous Oscar burger.
cheeseburger. That's an Oscar burger.
That was an 8 on
And
the Richter scale
yes,
right
it
there.
is. And a Sam Adams. So anyway, that's a great story, man.
You know, Chris Coles just found his family.
Oh, really?
He literally just found his family, and it was maybe a month ago, and they just flew down to visit with him. They spent time with him. He had pictures online on Facebook of him bringing his family up on stage with him while he was performing. His mom and his sister, I believe, came to visit him.
Oh, that's cool.
But yeah, I was very happy to see it. He was ecstatic. He was just ecstatic.
Well, you know, I mean, I wish more. When people are, you know, it's just like if you want to have children and you're able, you know, you're able. You know, and when I say able to raise a kid, you don't have to have money. You don't have to be rich. You know what I mean? You can be just getting by and raise kids fine. You know what I mean? I mean, hell, Dolly Parton's the superstar that, you know, from that, you know?
Yeah.
That
She grew up on the other side of Oak Ridge from my mom. My mom
absolutely
went to school with Dolly.
Exactly.
Oh, shit.
And we'll always say we had a great life. We did.
Yeah.
We loved each other. We had a good life. We didn't know we were poor, you know? And you know, you don't have to but if you're able and you can, well then, as like I tell people, you know, have the children and do it and have a great family and have a great life. But don't I just wish you'd get through to people. You don't need to raise a child just because you had a child.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There should be no guilt or anything there. If you're not parent material,
Right.
don't try it. It's tough. You know, it is. It's tough, man.
There should be like a parent aptitude test or something like
Oh,
that.
of course there should be. I mean, you know, but I think so many parents just go, well, I didn't want to be a parent. I wasn't planning on being a parent.
Right.
I don't really like the idea of being a parent, but I got pregnant or whatever, so I'm just going to, you know, do it because that's what I'm supposed to do. And they get pressure from their families and everything. And, you know, and I'm like, no, man.
Yeah.
No, you know, you shouldn't. You shouldn't. You shouldn't feel like you have to.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know. I was definitely parent material. I am just absolutely in love with my kids.
well,
Just
you
100%.
don't say you're a new granddad.
Brand new granddad.
I'm a new granddad. How, boy or girl?
Little girl. Well, she's 8 months now, so I mean.
We got a little boy 3 months.
Yeah.
And my daughter, you know, as soon as that baby was born, even months, you know, I would say even about 2 or 3 months before the baby was born, it focused her in a way we've never seen in our entire life. It was like the miracle of miracles. I mean, she said it. She goes, I was born to be a mom.
Yeah.
I love every bit of it. Even when he's fussy and getting up 3 times a night makes me giggle. You know, she doesn't get, and she was born to be a mom. And you know, I mean, it's just a wonderful thing to watch.
Yeah.
You
Did
know.
you find her maturity level changed within that time frame?
She matured 5 years in 5 months.
Yeah, yeah.
Without a shadow of a doubt.
Right.
Unlike anything I'd ever seen. I mean, when she first told me she was pregnant, I was like, well, I'd like to be thrilled about this, but you've never taken care of you.
Right.
100%. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And now you got to be able to do this. Because I'm not raising, I mean, in my head, I go, I don't want to raise a baby between 63 and 83. I mean, myself.
Right.
She was like, I'm going to do this. And I'll tell you, man, there was nothing in her background that said I could feel confident that she was going to be able to pull that off at that point. But it's like every month that went by, it just seemed like she changed. She was doing things she'd never done before. She was hitting responsibility levels she'd never hit before. She was gaining a confidence we'd never seen before. And that just kept going. And now that she's had the baby, I mean, same thing. And I mean, it's amazing. You know, it's just an amazing thing. It's a beautiful
That's awesome.
thing.
Yeah,
Beautiful
it is.
thing. You know.
That's awesome.
It
you-
really is.
It's a blessing in disguise, if you will.
It's a miracle. It's as much a miracle as anything I've ever experienced.
Yeah. And you and Pam are going to spoil that kid.
Oh, God. Pam's already got a sign at the front door that says she's Gigi. She's Gigi, which I love because that's what I call her in heels. She's Gigi.
Don't make it dirty. Don't make it dirty.
She's got a little. I know. She's got a little sign at the front door that says, "What happens at Gigi's stays at Gigi's." Taylor came and she goes, "I don't know if I like that or not." I go, "Well, get used to it."
That's funny.
And it's cute. Already, he's only 3 months, and already, I was telling Taylor, I said, just in the past 2 or 3 weeks, he fusses if I hold him up to my chest, like on my shoulder, just cradle him, cuddle him like that. He'll fuss. And then as soon as I put him on my knee, sitting up, happy as a clam. He's like, "Nah, man, I don't want you holding me that way.
Yeah.
Put me on your knee like I'm a boy. You're a guy. I'm a guy. Sit me on the knee. Let's watch the ball game."
This is awkward.
Yeah, this is awkward. The cuddling shit.
He was born.
We ended that. That was after 8 weeks. We're done with that shit, right? And I said,
He was born a man's man.
and Taylor goes, "That's the way he is with me now." I said, "But you know who the only person that can cuddle him?
Gigi.
Hey, Gigi.
Yeah.
Gigi can still." And Taylor's like, "That pisses me off." I said, "Hey, it pisses me off. I'm second fiddle now. I don't even get to do that." Shit. Oh, God.
Oh.
They went and got him a leprechaun outfit the other day because St. Patty's coming up. And I even supported it. I shouldn't have. And she sent me a picture with that on with the little hat and everything. He's got a real man face. You know how babies can be androgynous? You don't know if they're boy or girl. This one's like, he looks like a little old man. He does. He looks like a little old bald man. And they put that thing on. I go, "Oh, my God. He's the fucking leprechaun." He looks just like it. It's hilarious. I said, "I'll see that picture one day." And Pam said, "I'm going to tell him you encouraged this." I said, "I know. I'll tell him. I'll apologize. I ain't going to let it happen anymore." Oh, man. Damn, Detroit's beating Tampa Bay's. Tampa Bay's had a little losing streak here going into the end of the season. But I don't think that's wholly bad. I mean, I think they still got the best record in hockey. And
Tampa?
Yeah. Oh, they
I
do.
feel like every year they have a great
Well, this
fucking
year
season.
especially. And I'm hoping that go ahead and get your going into the playoffs, everybody's healthy. Go ahead and get these out of the way.
Right.
You lose a few games right now. They were on a streak there for a little while, But it's amazing when you tell people that Tampa, we have baseball, we have football, we have soccer, we have hockey, and it's a hockey town.
Oh, yeah.
I know.
It is a hockey
Oh, yeah.
town.
It's crazy.
One of my first headlinings, I was looking for somebody to feature for me, and nobody was available. So I took my buddy Chris Gorgeous. Now, Chris is short of him, he's one of the most energetic comics on stage. When he's going,
100 miles
and
an hour.
for about a month, I would call Chris all the time, and I say, "Look, just dial it down." I said, "It's my first time headlining. Just dial it down for me. Just dial it down." So on the day of the show, we got out to Lakeland to do the show, and I told him, I said, I feel awful. I said, "I want you to go up there and do what you do. If I can't follow you, I'll never do it again. But I want you to go up and have as much fun as I plan on having. Let's do this." So he gets up on stage, and it's Winter Circle, so it's a sports bar, and they're playing hockey on there, and it's Tampa versus Boston. And so Chris gets up there, and the first thing that he has the MC announce is he's a Boston comic. And they booed him for the first 5 minutes.
Oh, God.
I got up there. My first line was, I said, "Chris would have been better by telling you people he was from Iraq." I said, because you go up there when Boston's beating the hell out of Tampa and tell them you're from Boston, they're going to hate you.
Did you hear the guy in the audience when I was talking to, had a girl birthday? Is your husband here? Yeah. What's his name? Manoog. You go, "Manoog?" I go, "What's that?" She goes, "He's Armenian." I said, do you speak enough English to understand? I said, are you first generation? He goes, yes. I said, do you understand enough English? Do you understand what I'm saying with my southern accent? He goes, about 60%. I said, oh, that's good in stand-up comedy. 60. I said, just play along with the others.
Just nod and smile.
You can work with that.
So I was talking back and forth to him, and so he was getting comfortable. We're having fun. He goes, yes, I am that, and I'm a terrorist, too. And the crowd went, they did not laugh. They would not laugh. And I was like, Manoog, I give you this, man. Nice attempt. Your timing was way the fuck off. But good shot. I know where you're headed with it.
The comedy's hard, isn't it?
Exactly. Oh, God.
That's funny.
I had a lady in here one night. It was her birthday. Accent. Where you from? And she hesitated. It was like, and it was a little awkward. I could tell it was a little awkward. Of course, you can't see them. Yeah. They're in the dark. And she goes, Iran. Like that. Iran. Like, ugh.
Like she knows not to say it.
And I went, beautiful accent. Beautiful accent. I want to say something to you because I want you to understand this. All this audience and me all know that 90% of the world are good, kind, wonderful people. 10%'s fucking it up for everybody. I don't care where you're from. That's everybody. And everybody applauded and da-da-da. And after the show, she came up to me and gave me a big hug. She goes, I'm the woman from Iran. And we both shed a tear. I mean, it was like a little bit. And she was like, she goes, it was like when you said that, I could breathe,
Right.
And I said, but everybody does know that. Everybody does know that it's a small percentage of anywhere that are this fucked up leadership.
Yeah.
With these radical militant motherfuckers. That really rarely represents the population base.
Oh, yeah.
The population wants to raise their family, go to work, make a decent amount of money so that they can have a house and the kids can go play soccer and go to school. I mean, and just... I go get Eric.
You just ran a marathon, yeah.
No, I did.
Right there.
Oh, I guess we gotta go out and shake hands, huh?
Yeah. Well, we're gonna wrap this up then. Just like that. Thank you for tuning into this week's episode. Please go to our website, McCurdy'sComedy.com, for all of our upcoming shows. Please follow us on Instagram and Twitter. And if you liked Eric Myers, please follow him at Eric Myers Comedy. And also look up Bill Bull Ohse. That's Bill Bull Ohse. The last name Ohse. And please stay tuned for our next episode next week. Thank you.